So that's Godspeed, and I just want to say thank you for joining us, and thank you for being willing to share your story. And I want to introduce my friend. You had one part of his business with Troy in another episode. So I won't say A and B. I won't say B and A because I don't know how y'all do. I will say this. I'm going to throw this out there, and I know you said Troy don't give me any spoiler alerts, but at some point in the conversation with Troy, you were referred to as the work wife. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Where that come from?
Yeah, and we, because you guys spend a lot of time with each other. But I want to introduce my friend Kevin Grosvenor. One other part, or the other half, or another third. I don't know how you guys have it set up, but of ThinkTLS. And I want to start with that arrival date. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear about a little young, skinny Kevin growing up in this world. Like what were some of the things that you went through?
All right. So first I would like to say thank you for asking me on the show. And I think that, and I'd like to thank the Lord for putting us together.
Absolutely.
8 or 9 months ago. And enjoying walking with you and look forward to what the Lord's going to do. So Kevin, before knowing Christ, right? So I was born in 72.
Just throw it out there.
Yep.
72 baby.
Yep.
70s baby.
Yep.
All right.
And church was a lot different back then. So I grew up Episcopalian and was a torchbearer, which is...
A torchbearer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Which means that you can put on the robes, go down, you light the candles. I would go back and count the wafers, and I'd mix the wine, because they don't drink grape juice at the Episcopal Church, with the water.
Pause. Time out. You mixed the wine with water.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was about to say, what are you mixing wine for? You back there crushing the grapes?
Yep. So basically diluting it down.
Okay, I got you.
But my church life was...
So your first job was a bartender at the church.
My parents were religious. They weren't. They didn't work for the Lord, right? And I think that there's a big difference in religion and really what birthed from the non-denominational church. And it really became about having a personal relationship with Christ, not tradition of the Episcopal Church. And I'm picking on the Episcopal Church. I am a little bit, but with all the incense and where the preacher comes down and he's like stormtrooper and got on his robes and all that and goes up front versus just, and now you got to stand up and you got to sit down and you got to touch your nose and you got to twirl and you got to do this if you're a Catholic. And in my opinion, they miss a lot in tradition, right? Versus getting into the Word, getting in circles, so grew up in that model, but really because it quickly became, if you don't go to church today, and I'm the youngest of 3 boys, you're grounded.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I was kind of forced to go to church, but then I didn't learn or hear anything because it was all above my head, right? Didn't have the Spirit, had never really accepted Christ, although I was confirmed at the Episcopal Church and obviously baptized as a baby because that's what you do at the Episcopal Church. So I was in with the big man, but just had zero relationship there.
Yeah.
So, you fast forward through that as a young 12, 13, 14-year-old boy, and girl too for that matter, and we're all looking and trying to find our identities in 7th and 8th grade. And you were lucky because you were an athlete, and I bet you was running track like a deer and all that good stuff. And I was not an athlete, and I was not a scholar.
You had me fooled. I thought you were both, man. You had me fooled.
And I wasn't on the chess team, and I wasn't into politics. So I didn't have a clique, right? So the coolest clique there's always been since the 60s was the Bad Boy Club.
Yeah.
Right? And they'd roll the cigarettes up, right? And the James Dean and the boys. So, okay, so I tried that one out. And it worked, right? And the cool thing about that clique is it trumps everybody.
Yeah.
So now I'm cooler than the quarterback, right? But there's a lot, I got in a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get labeled. Then you're a troublemaker. So I went down that road. Go
hold
ahead.
on. So you grew up in the Episcopal Church. You're torchbearer. Where are you living at this time?
Nashville.
All right, so
Brentwood, Tennessee.
you're in Brentwood, man. Brentwood and Problem Child, like troublemaker. That's an oxymoron.
Well, here's the deal. Is small town label, right? So I'm trying to find my identity, right? And now I'm cool. And with that, the first thing that comes was drinking underage and doing drugs underage. So I started smoking marijuana young, started drinking when I was 14, 15, and then now I'm cool to all my peers.
You started drinking and smoking at 14.
15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I because I'm in a small town, there wasn't but 3 or 4 police officers back in Brentwood back in 70. So now it's 82, 83, 84. So I ended up in some trouble with the law, all juvenile stuff, thank goodness, at 15. And you know, then when I get to my senior year in high school, right, I'm still kind of on the same deal here.
But you made it to your senior year.
But well, I left Brentwood after my sophomore year, and I had all the run-ins with the law and school and being suspended and all the things that go with that my freshman year and sophomore year. So then I'm basically on the run when I moved to Atlanta, right?
Gotcha.
So we moved to Alpharetta, go to Milton High School, the old Milton High School, right? And my dad said, "Look, son," and well, one other thing I'll say. You didn't, back in the 80s, in the early mid 80s, there was no relationship with your dad, in my opinion, like there is today. Because I got a boy and I got girls and I want to feel like I got a great relationship with my kids and they can tell me anything and all that. Back then, you know, the dads went to work on Monday and mine traveled for a living. He was home on Friday, and there was no cell phones and all that stuff wasn't around. And I didn't see him much, right? So when I got in all this trouble and moved, he said, "Look, son, you got 2 more years of high school left, right? Do it different this time. Like, you're moving to a new town." It was before computers, right? So they end up not actually sending my rap sheet over because I would have been labeled again. Like, great, we got this bad kid coming in from Nashville. So I got a clean start. The Lord gave me a chance to have a fresh start.
That's
right?
interesting.
But with that, a year later, my dad died of a massive heart attack.
Wow.
He was 46, and was playing tennis with my mom in Windward, in Alpharetta there, and you know, so this was first pivotal moment, right? And as you said, and totally agree, and I actually have a life chart that I've written out that I've done in a discipleship program. Life is all about these ups and downs. For some, I've learned, right? Some people's calling is these ups and downs and experiences and highs and lows, and then for other people, like my wife, for instance, just the sweetest little angel, and I know that the Lord sent her to me because we started dating. We were dating for 2 weeks the day my dad died, right? And now we've been together for 34 and married for 28. But she saw all that stuff going down, so the Lord sent her, I believe. But she has lived life like this perfect little angel that we all sin. I'm not saying that, but right through
Yeah.
life, and I have been highs, lows, highs, lows, highs, lows. And a mentor of mine, actually the gentleman that brought me to Christ, he told me, "Look, man, you're a warrior for Christ, right? First off, the Spirit tells me." And this guy grew up with missionaries, his parents, and went to Bible school and was working in the industry. And when he found me, or when the Lord sent me to him, I should say, and bought my first Bible. And he knew I wasn't a scholar, so he bought me the Message because I wasn't going to get no King James.
He got you a version you can understand.
Yes.
I got it.
Yeah, Reader's Digest. I mean, what was the thing we were studying? We were kids. What was it called? Like Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes, yeah.
Yep. So Kevin invested a lot. His name was Kevin as well. Invested a ton of time in me. But through that, and where I was going is, that was Crossroad. And as we talked about, the Lord does good with everything if it's within His will and purpose for this individual. So I also believe that he knew my dad was going to be born in December, and I'm going to be bad not knowing his birthday, but I think it's December 12th, 45 or 44. And I think he knew that was also in December, I believe, that he was going to die of this massive heart attack, which ended up being 98% clogged in both arteries, and he was about my build, so it was just like it was going to happen. But then that drew me further into the drugs and the mischief. And looking back at my road now, it's like, man, I wish that I would have caught that then, because then I wouldn't have all these other scars in life. But now, I've since changed that opinion. I think the Lord has now, because he always uses the good in what we do with our bad free will, now he's used all these other scars I've done in life so that people, to your point of the reason for your whole organization, is that the Lord, just like he did with the 12, they were a bunch of misfits, first off, right? But it's that, and maybe he even changed his plan there, and we'll never know. Like, I wonder what would have happened if I'd have caught it right then.
Yeah.
And said, oh, okay, this is my God breakthrough moment, I like to call it. But I didn't. I went the other way, right? And I believe, and I think you believe, I know you do, and I hope everybody else on this that watches this podcast believes, there's good and there's evil. There's Christ and there's Satan, right? And Lucifer. And as you may or may not know, people watching, Lucifer is a fallen angel, and he is almost as powerful as our Savior and what God had created. But he was on the team, and then greed got him, and he tried to overtake him, and we're going to get to watch all that at the rapture when they finally tie him up. But and the Bible talks about living in the darkness and living in the light, right? But once you become a believer, but you have to really, it's really born again, in my opinion. Like, that's great. I was baptized as a child. That's great. I was a torchbearer, but I never, like, that was it.
Yeah.
Had I died, I believe I'd have gone to heaven, no question, right? But I wasn't working for the Lord, so I went on this 10-year run, just wide open, baby, drinking, drugging, through college. My wife's a little bit younger, so we weren't together in college. And I believe that Satan has 3 real easy buttons for men, right? Because Satan's there to trick us, and to steal, and
he's a deceiver,
and to destroy,
yeah,
and to get our mind share back. And I also believe now that Kevin was right when he saw me as a warrior, because he warned me way back. And when I say way back when, this was 2003, that where Kevin really started teaching me, and now I'm getting to make the decision.
So you really started walking with the Lord back in
2003.
Okay.
Right? But he told me, he said, look, man, he said, do your hand like this. Do your hand like this. Okay. You see that little crack of light you see right there? Yeah, I see it. That's all Satan going to need to come back and get you. And because you're a warrior, he's losing you. Like, you only work for one or the other.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm working for Satan, honestly.
Yeah.
And being a heathen and doing all the heathenistic things and not doing good things. So now you're going to fast forward a little bit, right? To where now good things happen too, right? So my dad died, and this is on this life chart that I made. Then I meet my angel comes in my life, right? Meet her, go through that whole piece. Then we stay on the high for a little while. We get married. We got them babies coming, right? And then all of a sudden, and this chart is 0 in the middle. You got a +5, +10. You got a -5, -10.
Yeah.
Chart your life, right? Which was a really wonderful exercise. And then my old business partner, same business that we're in now, he was I had quit my other job and was going to go work with this new business that he had a business we were doing basically a subsidiary.
So this is after you meet
Yep.
Kevin?
Yep, 2000, right after.
So right after you
2004,
meet Kevin.
5.
So
right?
before we get to that piece, there were a couple of things that you hit on, and I think they're key because it's a reality of a lot of people who I feel are going to be watching this. So you made this statement about when you were doing all these things in the church, and you were bartending, mixing the wine jokingly. And you were going through all of these rituals, but you said something. You knew God, but you didn't have a relationship with God. And then you started talking about your dad, your father. And you said back in the 80s, they went to work. Your father traveled for work. He went off on Monday, came back on Friday, really didn't do anything on the weekend. And so I see this other instance of you existing in this place, yet not having relationship. So I think there are a lot of people who exist. They go out and they do work, and they may be quote unquote considered good people, and they feel like they may be doing okay, but there isn't relationship. So before we get into that, I want to ask you, how can someone who's had so much experience rather of having a lack of relationship learn to develop a relationship with the Father?
So my answer to that is it depends on God's plan and purpose for each individual that's in the body of Christ.
Okay.
And I believe there's from that, God gives people and knows before the end of the mother's womb, just like he knows the hairs on the head, like the Bible teaches us. Gives them different talents and gifts for the overall. None's better than the other, but this overall body of Christ, and for us to tell the story, bring people to Christ, love people, and try to live through the fruits of the Spirit and be as Jesus-like as we can in this broken world. That is impossible. See, we don't beat ourselves up when we do little sins. When we do, if we're not being obedient, right? Like, so let me back up. It wasn't like it just clicked neither, right? So
It very seldom does.
it took years.
Yeah.
And a lot more death, which is why I was going on the next one. So Robbie ends up dying in a scuba diving accident as my new business partner. And then something else kind of good happened in life, and then boom, right back down. My other best buddy ended up in an accident in college, got thrown in a pond, broke the same 3 and 4, whatever the heck they are, and is a quadriplegic, excuse me. So I dealt with that whole thing. So it's like, and I used to think about as I was going through some of this stuff, and I think this is true. I believe that if we get ourselves off of what God's purpose is for our life, right? And I did struggle. Like, I had a burning desire to know my purpose in life, and it was about the same time that the Purpose-Driven Life came out and some of that stuff. But I didn't have the relationship with the Lord to where I had an urge to spend time with Him or to let Him speak to me, right? The Lord speaks to us through Word, right? And opening the Bible, right? And through other believers that speak through us and to us. Right. And now I get that.
But you know that now.
Right.
But at the time, you didn't know that.
No.
And so you said you were going down this 10-year spiral, and I see you're alluding to these different people that he's putting into your life. So when did that realization happen? Like, how did it happen where you didn't know how to have a relationship, you didn't know how to hear from Him, you're in this spiral, these bad things are happening to the people around you? Like, when does it click?
Well, so it started, for me, it was more like a slow burn forest fire out in California.
Okay.
Is the analogy that's popped in my head.
All right.
So I think Kevin flicked out a cigarette.
I was about to say, what was the ignition?
Right.
What was the source?
And it was, but I didn't, God gave me all the opportunity, but I kept going right back and listening to the lies.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 7 to 8 years or more of living in what I call the shadows.
Gotcha.
Right.
Where this flicker is becoming a flame.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so now I got to where I was having some prayer time. I got involved in a nonprofit church at North Point Church.
Who introduced you to that?
Another friend of the family that had invited us for the first time.
Gotcha.
And then I spent, like we always do, and it's funny how the Lord works. Then I felt like Andy was only talking into me the entire time on every single sermon.
Over at North Point.
So the Lord was working hard through that. And this is about the same time I met Kevin. It's 2003, 4. So I'm getting around it. But now it's not like church I knew. Now I'm showing up in my shorts and my flip flops. There's no pew. There's no stand up, touch your nose 3 times and say hallelujah, and then sit back down and then get back up and say praise Jesus and then sit back down. All that tradition's gone. So I'm like, man, it's cool, So
like the Lord is completely rewiring your perception of the church.
Yeah, for
Gotcha.
sure. And quite frankly, I went because my kids at that time were babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted my kids to, so a lot of it was taking the kids to church, which is Andy's whole freaking deal. And then all of a sudden, well, looky there, finally started to get me where I'm kind of breaking down through it.
Gotcha.
And then, from there into small groups, right? Because now they got problems, young marriage, kids, it's all the struggles in life, right? So then you got to work on that stuff like anything else. We're working on relationship and getting with other people in our same surroundings, kids the same age. And so now we're going to weekly Bible studies with them. And I got men pouring in my life.
Yeah.
And then Andy had a sermon on, look, we got to trim some of that vine, right? So you got to get some of those people out of your life, right? That are the ones that kept pulling me back into, wanting to,
Yeah.
go. I finally quit drugs completely, right? And I got hooked on the gambling bug a little bit too, and I quit that, right? And what I was going to say earlier, Satan's got 3 easy buttons for most men. Drugs and alcohol, put them in the same category. Addiction, right?
Yeah.
The bondage of addiction through what might seem of, it's just either I want to relax a little bit when I get home from work, or when I go to a party, I'm not really fun unless I get a couple drinks in me, or whatever the lie is, right? Or, it's just marijuana, which is where it started for me. And it started drug, and it is a starter drug. And then I went through all the rest of them, right? That's an easy button.
Drugs and alcohol.
Gambling is an easy button. And then overall sex and sex addictions, be it pornography, be it the ones that usually starts with that, and then they've got infidelity and it busts up families and the whole nine.
Yeah.
So
three main vices he tries to throw at us.
Yeah, he can knock down about 80 of the pins. 80% of the bowling pins with that.
So he's bowling a pretty strong game.
Yep. And I fell for all of that, except for the sex one. Thank goodness I've been with my wife since we were 18 and 16, and she was my soulmate.
Yeah.
But never had that urge.
Right.
Either, which was good.
But what I see is this trend of these things pulling at you, and you wanting something different, to you experiencing something different, to you're now forming a community. And not only are you forming a community, you're refining a community.
Yes.
So you're cutting off the things, the ties and the tethers that are holding you back to this old life, and you're getting surrounded now by healthy community. Why was that so important, and how much did that change your life?
Well, it was just, it still wasn't the God moment. It was still this continued piece, so, and that's why I got to kind of fast forward to a little bit so you can kind of see the journey.
Okay.
Right? Because this journey lasted from 2003 to 2000.
Boy, you went backwards. 2003 to
2003 is when Kevin led me through the prayer, bought me my first Bible, spent 2 days a week at the coffee shop with me. I started going to church, right? And then I'm going 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So then as I get on through, and there's still things, good things, bad things happening in life. And then, so now I have a prayer life a little bit.
Gotcha.
right? But really maybe just checking the box a little bit. So I got a
Going
little
back to that religion.
Yeah, that's
I'm
it.
supposed to do this, so I'm doing it.
Correct, right? And it was daily devotional, and I was good enough and obeying enough to where I would get to my office, I get to work early, I spent a lot of time at work, and before I turned on my device or checked my email or looked at what I missed the night before, I want to spend time with the Lord, right? But I wasn't very good at it, and like most, and and now I'm really, teaching my son and other men that I'm pouring into now. Don't wait till you feel like you're the scholar. Just talk to God like you're talking to like me and Trey, like you and I are talking right now.
Yeah.
It's easy. It doesn't have to be all that, which is where a lot of the other denominations kind of miss it a little bit, in my opinion, and where, quite frankly, they missed it with Jesus, right? When they were coming after, it was all about the law, right? And that whole piece. So the real breakthrough moment was I had shedded the drugs. I had shredded or shedded rather the gambling addiction, and I was drinking beer, right? And in high school and college, my wife said, "Look, that liquor, like this ain't gonna work. So if like this is your plan, and drugs, like if this is your plan, it ain't gonna we ain't gonna be together." So I never had the liquor, and when I did, man, talk about howling at the moon. I mean, it was bad. So, but I had settled into it's just beer, and at that it was just Bud Light. How much trouble am I going to get in on Bud Light? But Satan had convinced me of that, right? And so what started off over the and this went on for this entire journey, like maybe 5. I don't, and I'm not great with my timeline and my memory stinks, but call it like 2012 or 13 or something. I laid the other stuff down, and now it was just beer.
Yeah.
Right. But it started off as I'm just going to have a little bit to relax me from being home from work. 2 beers at night. Then 2 turned into 6, turned into 8, turned into my angel saying, "Come on, dude, like how you got to have so many dang beers every night?" Turned into Satan would convince, "Well, let's just drink a few before we get home, and then she'll only see you drinking them other 2, and then you'll be good."
Oh, wow.
So I became a functioning alcoholic on beer alone. But then that turned into, on the weekends, I drink a case of beer. It wasn't I'm going to go play golf and drink some beers. It was I'm going to drink some beers and go play golf. I'm not going to go to the lake today and then maybe have a couple beers because it'll be hot. No, I'm going to go out and drink 12 or 15 beers, and I'm going to go surfing today. Everything revolved around drinking.
Yeah.
Right? And I look up, I'm drinking 60 or 70 beers a week.
Oh, I was about to say a day is crazy.
60 or 70 beers a week.
Okay.
Right? 50 pounds heavier than I am right now, not healthy. Then come the depression, right? And then, even as far as minor suicidal, like Satan was winning, right? And I felt like I'd seen the face of Satan. Like I was in a really dark, horrible spot. And so when I was praying at the office one morning, and this only goes back for 5.5 years ago, right? And I told the Spirit, right? And I've been through a bunch of this, I'm definitely a believer now. I've been through some Bible studies. I got my community group. I'm a believer, not a disciple, but I'm a believer. And I'm telling the Holy Spirit, I want this close relationship with Father. And I was meditating, and I was being a little bit slower than I usually am because I'm a freaking Energizer bunny, and we all want instant gratification. But the Spirit came to me, first time ever, and I clearly heard, and this is through my words. I don't really exactly remember, but this is what I got out of it. If you want the relationship, well, first off, yes, if you want the relationship with the Lord that you are seeking, there's only one more trick that Satan's got on you. You've laid down the other ones. This is the last one. You lay down this bondage and you'll have it.
Yeah.
Okay? So that morning, I quit. Like literally, I said, okay, I'm done. I'm out. but I'd seen, so now I feel like I saw Satan, and the Spirit is now talking to me,
Yeah.
right? So I'm that smart. So I quit that day. But so now I'm an absolute miracle, and here's why: no treatment, no AA, no come home and tell my whole family, get all the alcohol out of the house. We got to hide it, right? Which, and I'm not making fun of that because I think it's a real thing. It's a miracle. Like, I was a major alcoholic, and the Lord took it from me, just like He would have as if I was blind or if I had another something that He was giving me here.
Yeah.
So
So you were delivered in this moment.
delivered in that moment, and now I'm 5.5 years sober, and not one single time, not once, that have I almost fallen or gone back. And you look at the stats of men that have this problem, and I, again, don't downplay it, and in fact I help a lot of them, and I like loving on them and working through this, but I didn't have the problem.
So not only did He deliver you from the act, He delivers you from the urge, like the desire.
Gone.
Just gone.
Gone.
That's amazing. And like you're saying, that is not the norm.
No.
Most people can't stop any vice or any addiction cold turkey.
Yep.
So as He does this, and you see the miracle, you're talking to the Spirit, and you see, like He is present. You've seen the devil, you've seen God. Like, this is so much better. I'm stopping cold turkey.
That's it.
After that moment, how does it change the rest of the functioning of your life?
Oh, like within 6 months, right? I mean, within 6 months, I lose 55 pounds, right? So healthier, and I was at 205, right? And I'm 5'9" or something, and now I'm, I went all the way down to 145 without making any changes, right? And then I was like, well, now I look like I'm sick, so then I put some weight back on and all that piece of it, but instantly, all the anxiety was gone. Satan was gone.
Yeah.
And he kept trying to come, but now the Spirit told me, when he comes, tell him this: I see you, I see your tricks, and I cast you away in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Flee. But you got to do that out loud.
So now you're speaking with authority.
Yeah, well, and you got to do that out loud.
Yeah.
Because he can't hear you like Jesus can. You can't just talk like talking to Spirit, and I can just do it in my head. So I started doing that. People probably thought I was crazy because I didn't care where I was doing it.
Yeah.
When Satan, and I still do it today, and Satan doesn't attack me, he finally don't attack me no more, because now I'm all the way the other way.
Yeah.
But this is a building block of, I think, some tests through the Lord. People might have different opinions on that, but I certainly think the Lord tests us, and He gives us, the gives and takes away. We're going to start our singing. So I think through all that and the obedience of that, but then there was one more piece to that. And then we can dive back through and dissect some of this, because I feel like I'm talking way too much. So now I don't drink anymore. And now I get way closer, because it truly was shackles, man. Mm-hmm. The bondage, right, was gone, and it's indescribable, the difference of walking with Satan versus walking with the Lord. Truly,
yeah.
I was getting some of it because I'm on the shadow, man, and I liken to it like if I'm on a fence.
Yeah.
And if you get this way a little bit, you're in the dark. Get this way a little bit in the light. And I lived there for a long time. So I was doing pretty good, but I was a basket case.
Yeah. But now you're completely free.
Yeah.
So what do you do with this freedom?
Yeah.
How's He working in you with this freedom and working through you with this freedom?
Yeah. So that's what's the amazing thing, right? So then there was a few more lessons I had to get through. Another big sin, and not even a sin, but something that we all learn a lot about as Christians, is not just getting tricked by Satan, but the love of anything above Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Be it, and some people might kind of argue this point a little bit, above your wife, above your family, above your friends, above money, above your job, above your fancy car you drive around, and about all these blessings that the Lord give me, right? I was really bad about that the whole time. And then once He had taken the bondage away, well, I still was not kingdom focus. I was Kevin.
Kevin focus. Yeah.
You know, so I felt, so then Satan used that hook, right? So the next big thing, and I'm sure God was trying to show me all this without having to take it all the way through. And what I was going to say earlier that I didn't say is I believe that God whispers in the calling, and when you don't listen, he starts to shout a little bit more at you, right?
Yeah.
And that's through some different things, right? And maybe he lets some things play out a little bit further, you know, with some of the free will crap when you go on your little hiatus down this path and then back to the main trail.
Yeah.
So then I lose my job, right? And all of my, and it wasn't even lose my job because I had a business that I had taken all my relationships to, and then I went and hooked up with another business, as an independent contractor, so it's still my book. I'm still running it, but then they sold that business, right? No hard feelings. They're like, I get it. I'm an entrepreneur. But with that, there went my business. And then, sorry, dude, because we sold the business, again, I get it. We got to hold you in a non-compete.
Yeah.
So 2 years. And now I'm with the Lord. I'm going to do the right thing. So this was the big faithful moment. Then I think it becomes faithfulness when you know the Spirit and it's for the kingdom, right? And obeying that. So I felt this, and I, rather than going to, and I'm a solver with everything, with like too much, overbearing, in fact, and OCD, to where like I'm gonna solve it, right? So the normal me would have been out finding, and I got a lot of relationships. I'm a very relational person, right? So the normal side would have been me going out interviewing and going to find what's the next big thing I'm going to go do so I continue to make my big income. This time, Spirit said, no, just spend time with me. And I had another spiritual mentor who, oddly enough, was the gentleman that was in the accident and the quadriplegic, and I had helped bring him to Christ right not too long after the accident, because I had now, after the first Kevin, always Kevin's, had saved me, then my other friend is Kevin as well, we'll call him Kevin S. He had gone through the accident. He was in a really bad spot, man, with depression, and I mean, rightfully so. He happened on his 21st birthday. Now he's like 25, 26, can't move nothing. He's living in his parents' basement, hadn't left the house. Like, he's like, dude, like, it's bad. So I said, well, it seems a little hokey pokey and magic, but this other dude had brought me to Christ and walked me through this prayer, and man, I'm like a new man.
Yeah.
So let's walk through it. So he accepted Christ in his van that night. So then now you fast forward 10 years later, and now I've lost my job, and everything is gone, although I've quit drinking. And now it's just like 2 or 3 years in of that. Now this is like 5.5 years sobriety started, probably 2 or 3 years into it. December of 22 was when, like, sorry, dude, we sold the business. So now I got nothing. So Kevin had been spending all his time, right, for the last 8 or 9 or 10 years, really becoming a disciple, like really becoming a disciple and like learning. You have to invest, you know? So now he takes me through a 10-month discipleship program.
Wow.
And poured
Only
into
after
me.
you've lost your job.
Yep.
So he's taking you through this 10-month discipleship course, pouring
Yep.
into you.
Yep.
And what's the fruit of that?
The fruit is, first off, when I'm talking about 10-week discipleship program, I'd get into work the same time I always got into work, which is 6 in the morning. And I leave my office at 6 at night, and I'm weird. I do intermittent fasting, so I eat protein bars. I don't get up. I don't leave my office when I get there, other than to use the restroom a couple times within my office, right? So long hours, and I'm learning so much. And here's the big difference, to answer your question that I've been dodging a little bit. What was different? Once I started walking with the Lord, then the Spirit, and I've learned this through the discipleship program, but then our bodies are temples for the Spirit to live, right? Which is a lot of other lessons off of that, right? And why we should keep it as a temple and that type thing. But so now the Spirit's in me and with me. Spirit is with me, right? Just like in the Bible stories. So now, all of a sudden, I can read better. All of a sudden, I understand. I can now pick up a King James and read it like I used to read the message, and the Spirit is just like, and then people that are in my life are like big spiritual mentors, like the Lord's sending me, like it's crazy, like even Catalyst Conference, which was the church conference for all the new nonprofit guys when Andy was first starting his church. Well, Kevin had relationships there, and at the time was actually running John Maxwell's company, right? So he knew Stephen Covey and the Chrysler Crusade guy, and all these big spiritual leaders, which some of them probably passed because this goes back a long time ago. But all of a sudden, I'm in the mix, right? So it's like, so then I started saying, wow, this, like, God's got big plans for me, right?
So again, he's introducing this community to you.
Yep.
Gotcha. This was before or after the discipleship class?
This was before, and I still wasn't catching it, right? So then the discipleship class comes through, and my wife too was like, hey, think you may want to go interview, like get a job? I'm like, no, man, honey, this is worth more for me than the money I could have made for the last 10 months. Like, the Lord is doing amazing work through me.
Yeah.
So I obeyed through that. And then now on the other side of that, now that's what took me all the way through the journey of becoming a believer to now becoming a true disciple. And my prayers now aren't the Santa Claus prayers of God, give me this, God, give me that, God, pray for this, God, help me with this, God, help me. But me, which a lot of people miss. Now it's, Lord, send me somebody that I can help from the kingdom. Send me a man that's struggling today that I don't know that's struggling today. Send me somebody that is like needs $500, and you let me know who that is, and I'm gonna go give them to 500. Like, the kingdom, driven, and that's where I live today. And it's only been 2 or so years. Man, now I can see it and see the kingdom. And when I wake up in the morning, I don't think about going to make money. I don't think about our company. I think about praying, and God is just providing in huge ways for me. Just go work for the kingdom, and go ahead and give me the deal, which we did. You're going to tithe 10%. You're going to tithe 10%. It's not, and I got that whole piece where it's God's money, not my money, and I get to live on it. And then I started looking at, like, through total thankfulness. Lord, thank you for my big fancy house. Lord, thank you for my race car. Not, this is mine, baby. You like this? So that whole paradigm shift was.
Yeah, so now you're operating from a space of humility.
Yes.
Which, when you allow him space to almost present his presence, or when you give him the space to say, like, I'm here, I'm doing this, it is not you, it's you, Christ, that's when he begins to increase it. And so I 100% get that. And that's where you're operating right now, in this space of thankfulness and thanksgiving. And you're seeing how the Lord is moving in you and through you. But where do you think he's taking you?
Wow. I don't know. But it's amazing, right?
Whatever it is,
no, I mean,
it's
truly.
going to be great.
I mean, what the Lord is currently working on, like, now the Lord's working. He's making me a better warrior. So what we've been working on for the last 6 to 8 months is truly doing the best I can in this broken world that Adam and or Eve, and that argument's always funny to me, messed up in the garden. We can, and what Jesus called us to do, which is live through the fruits of the Spirit, right? Try to be as Jesus-like as you can in everything you do, right? And this is what the Spirit's working on me for. And I haven't mastered yet, but I can recognize it now. But even little stuff, patience. My wicked tongue, all of our wicked tongues, we do more harm with our tongues, right? And because I'm not very analytical, I don't think before I speak. And I get it from my mama too. I speak, and then and I hurt people. I don't mean to hurt them, but I hurt them. So I'm like, okay, first off, slow down. So now I feel like the Spirit is, and through relationships and sword, iron sharpening iron and all. So now the Lord is really crafting me for something really big. And then you know, what happened with my son recently in this brain tumor, it's the first time I've been through major trauma. I've seen lots of, like, dad died, other buddy dies, business partner, scuba diving accident, 26 years old. Other buddy ends up in a chair. 4 or 5 of my buddies end up dying of alcoholism and drinking themselves to death through vodka. So I've been through all this tragedy, but some totally in the dark, some in the gray, and now this is the first one 100% in the light.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to see God work through this, and see it as my son Jack's God's moment. Right. And then the Lord got to see my faithfulness, and I had to give it to him. Lord, you know, when it first happened, like, don't take my son. Please don't take my son.
Yeah.
And then within a matter of hours, I'm like, you know what? It's your will be done. And if he's got to go to the kingdom for you to prophesize this, I'm truly okay with it. If he's got to have cancer because you got to save some other stuff through cancer, I'm good. My faith will not waver. Like, you ain't losing me. Like, we're done. I'm never going back to him. And with the trigger being alcohol and beer, I will never, ever try to go back and have a sip of alcohol. And I don't have nothing against alcohol. This was a me problem.
Yeah.
And a bondage problem, and that was specifically what it was.
Yeah, that's good. Something that it's like this undercurrent. Mm-hmm. As you're sharing your story and you're taking us through this timeline of your life, there's this real undercurrent of, Lord, all these things are out there and they exist and they're pulling on me, but there's this undertow really of pulling Kevin out of those things. And what I'm realizing and what I want to communicate to the people who are watching this is, even though all this life might be happening and the Lord is pulling these heartstrings, like, you can't expect, or maybe you can, but most of the time you can't expect for things to be instantaneous.
No.
It started in 2003 for you, yep. And it's 2025, and he's still revealing things to you, and it's something new each day. Yep. And so when you have a relationship with Christ, don't think that everything is just going to be better, that everything is just going to be changed, is just going to change then and there. Like, everything is not going to be the miracle of you just losing, alcoholism in one prayer moment. Like, there are some things along the way that you have to learn, that you have to speak to, that he has to speak to you and through you about. And there's a learning curve because, like, it takes time for us to process things. Like, we weren't proficient in the English language when we first started saying da da mama, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so there's some time and there's some development that has to happen.
Yes.
For you, sometimes for you to truly be walking where you're supposed to be.
Agreed.
And as I say that, I like to study scripture. I love to do it. And what I do is I utilize this thing called SOAP. I learned it in church. You familiar with SOAP?
No.
All right. So it's an acrostic. Stands for Scripture, Observation, Application, and Prayer. So you read the scripture, you observe what the Lord is saying to you through that scripture. Then you practically think, how do I apply this to my life? And then pray that it's sustainable. So what I have here, Kev, is a soap box. I know it looks like an ammunition box, but it is not. Literally 6 big bars of soap came in this box, and it's my soap box.
Yep.
And what I've put in here is 100 of my favorite Bible verses.
Nice.
And so what we're going to do, we're going to have a little live soap session if you're okay with it. I want you to reach in here, pull out one of my favorite soap verses, and let me see what he's saying to you. All right.
You want
me to read it? No, it's you.
All right. It's awful little for an old man with no eyes.
That's why you brought your glasses, Kevin.
All right. We got Isaiah 4:3-19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?
Wow. What do you hear? What's your observation when you read that verse?
That the Spirit's in the room and he wanted me to pull that one out. This is exactly what we were just talking about, right? And it's the paradigm shift from living life for yourself or for your others or for any selfish reason versus living life for the kingdom and recognizing it's for the kingdom. And the only reason why I want to learn to live through the fruits of the Spirit, not because it's a reward, it's a reward, and that's not that we know, but I want everybody to know that's not the way it works. I'm gonna do good, so he'll do good for me. No, maybe, but it's so that others see us and say, "Man, something different about that dude," right? And something you hit on a minute ago that I think is important that I just remembered across this journey in more darker, like maybe halfway through, right when I'm in the shadows. And I had read in a Bible study in a men's group about this, how we get a new heart, right? And God gives us, rips out our old heart and gives us a heart of stone and gives us a new heart when we're born again.
Yeah.
Right? Man, I was bitter. And talk about unthankful, because here I got everything, man. I mean, I'm in like the 1 percentile, and I'm still like, man, that guy's got a faster car than I got. Man, his house, look at his house a little nicer than my house.
Yeah.
Man, I want to join that country club. That's a little nicer than the country club I'm at. Right? So it's this total shift, right? And then I learned recently through the discipleship program, and I'm still in a lot of discipleship programs, and I didn't just put it down. It can keep going, which is why it's hard for me to answer the question like, what's next? I don't know. I pray about it and I want the Spirit to reveal, man, but I just keep daily saying, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
So.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's easy to apply that because like when your only expectation is that the Lord will provide and he'll show you the way, there's no anxiety.
Yeah.
It's wherever you're going to have me to go. And if it is a new thing, I'm okay with whatever that new thing is.
Absolutely.
So that's a good space to be. So man, that's Godspeed. As you heard these stories, I hope that you've seen you've gleaned something from it that you can take, that you can apply to your life and maybe do the new thing in you and around you and through you. And so if you're looking at this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get all the new content that's coming out. If you're listening to it on a podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple, or iHeart, make sure you also like and subscribe so you don't miss any of these stories of transformation that are specifically recorded, and we do it so you can hear it and hopefully you can find hope in it. And I'm Trey, this is Kevin, and like always, we're wishing all of you Godspeed. God bless.
God bless.